Okay, everybody, if you haven't already, a couple of you haven't, go ahead and mute your microphones and your camera, and let's get going. Very important reminder, um, if you haven't emailed, reached out with, or have been in contact with your advisor, um, if you can, do so today. New student registration opens up sometime this week. I believe it's tomorrow. Not 100% sure. I thought it was April 14th, which would be tomorrow. So we expect maybe a little boost in enrollment, which makes all of the classes at the school more competitive to get into. So don't wait around to register for classes. That could really be a mistake. So just encourage you to get registered quick, as quickly as you can. I've got a few things in the works, especially for what next week will look like. And I'll have to get those. Wasn't able to get everything posted that I wanted before this morning. And we experienced, we're part of the power outage. So I'm running on whatever battery life I have left and internet tethered to my phone. And so I don't have the juice to get everything posted until our power comes back up, which may be later tonight. And so you should have been working on at least a little bit towards your oral presentation. You won't be doing oral presentations now this semester. And so just be looking for an email later today or tomorrow in reference to what it is I'll want you to do. You'll have all the rest of this week and next week to get all that finished. I'll also be giving some directions about the practical exam. And we'll go on from there whenever that happens. So here's what we're going to talk about today, and what this week is going to look like. This week's going to be different for your lab assignment. I'm giving you two alternatives simply because butchery, our butchery class, could be a little expensive. For the demo that I'll be posting as soon as we have enough juice to do that. I butchered a whole chicken and a beef tenderloin. Now, I don't expect anybody to go out to the grocery store and buy a whole chicken, or certainly buy a beef tenderloin. Beef tenderloin's expensive. Chicken, not so much, but maybe you're able to go get a chicken. But this is, as we've done through most of all of this class, it has been learning your knife skills, but also from the lab standpoint, an introduction to the other classes that you take throughout culinary school. And this week is an introduction to meat and seafood. When you take meat and seafood, you'll be dissecting chicken or breaking down a chicken till you're sick of it. 4 or 5 times in the semester, you will go through a case, 2, 3 cases of chickens yourself, each one of you. In meat and seafood, you'll be breaking down so many chickens. But you'll also learn about breaking down whole animal. You'll break down a whole pig. You'll break down half a cow. Chef McAfee tries to get a goat or a deer, usually some other whole animal. Lots and lots of fish and shellfish. But you learn all these different pieces. So here on this this slide, you see the culinary, well, not all of that is culinary. We don't eat the tail. We don't eat the head, but we use the neck. That's really good in stock. You see all the pieces of a chicken. Here in this country, we don't generally eat mutton, not very much of it. Some places do eat some sheep, lamb. Maybe some folks around here eat goat. It's not something that you're going to order at the restaurant, but rabbit is quite delicious, and you will likely prepare some rabbit in food 3 or food 4. We all eat a lot of pig, especially the bacon. That's why God gave us pigs. All the other stuff is secondary to bacon. Love bacon. And obviously cow. I don't expect you to learn all these parts and pieces, all these diagram, where the chuck is, where the tenderloin is, where the sirloin comes from. I don't expect you to know that or learn any of that. You won't be tested on those things in this class. You will in meat and seafood. So you can refer back to these slides when I put this PowerPoint up in Blackboard. This all goes in week 12. You can refer back to this and maybe study it a little here and a little there to be more familiar with it whenever you do actually take meat and seafood. You see these larger pieces, these are called the primal cuts. So from the whole animal is cut down into smaller usable chunks, but from those chunks come the retail cuts. And so you have to learn these primals as well as what the retail pieces are. Oh, well, there's turkey as well. Here's just another shot, another vision of the same thing. This is going to lead me to our lab and what it is I would like for you to do this week. Well, there's Doug there as well. You'll cook as long as Chef Rogers is doing food 4. You'll definitely do some duck in food 4. You may do some as well in food 3. I think Chef Mosley likes duck as well. So what we've done so far in lab assignments since we have moved to this format, I've assigned you a lab A and a lab B, and half of your 50 lab points have come from lab A and half has come from lab B. Well, if you, for example, want to break down something based on the demo that I did and we'll be posting. Again, I broke down a whole chicken and I broke down a beef tenderloin. You want to break down beef tenderloin. If you want to do the same things and break down a pork tenderloin, that's perfectly fine as well. There was some kind of meaning to the madness as far as chicken. You can get a whole chicken for probably $5 to $7 or so at a Walmart, and then reserve all the parts and pieces. If we were at Cami, we would all be breaking down chicken today, or Wednesday or Thursday, whichever class you're in. And we would utilize part of the chicken in class to prepare a dish. And we would utilize other parts of the chicken to make stock. If you want to break something down, all I want you to do is just the breaking down part. We'll talk about next week here in a little bit, but refer back to the demo whenever it's loaded, and I go into a little bit of detail about the different cuts of the chicken. So you can, from a culinary standpoint, you can serve whole chicken. That's quite a bit of meat, obviously. Two-piece chicken is cutting the chicken in half. If you see that color picture, it looks like a line right down the middle, separating the breast. You got a breast, a thigh, a leg, and a wing all on one half. And you cut the chicken in half and serve a two-piece chicken. There's a four-way cut, which is cutting that in half and then cutting those in half again. So you serve a wing breast quarter, or you serve a leg thigh quarter. Then there is six-piece, in which you serve the leg and thigh quarter all together. You separate the wings, and then you separate each breast. And so there's your six-piece, and there's eight-piece, two breasts, two wings, two thighs, two legs. And in this exercise of breaking down the chicken, it's all about disjointing the ball and socket joint. Each one of those joints are ball and socket joint. And so they kind of fit together, and the ball rests in the socket. The top of the bone from one section in the socket of the bone of the other section, you hyperextend it to pop the ball out of the socket, and then just cut away the connective tissue. And we don't do this by hacking away with a big cleaver like you see on maybe some Food Network or Cooking Channel type shows. I break this down in pretty good detail in the recorded demo. The beef tenderloin, it's a very expensive cut. I certainly don't expect you to go out and get a whole tenderloin, but I show you what you will do in meat and seafood. You will do some of this. You'll break down whole tenderloin. You'll remove the silver skin, and you'll section the filet mignon. You'll section the Chateaubriand, the tornadoes. You'll pull the usable meat out of the chain. I show you all of that in the demo. To go to Sam's and buy a whole tenderloin, you're going to be in the $75 to $100. And so money's precious right now. If you are going to break down anything, I would encourage you to just get a chicken. But if you do break something down, your lab assignment A part will be whichever you like: a beef tenderloin, a pork tenderloin, a whole chicken. Break it down according to the instructions I give you in the recorded demo. And just as all of our lab assignments so far, I want to see kind of a close-up picture of your work, what you did. And for part B, I want to see a picture of you in uniform with your product, whatever it is that you broke down. Now, if getting a whole chicken is cost prohibitive, or you are quarantined and you can't or shouldn't get out at all, you don't, for whatever reason, if that's not possible or practical for you, then this is the alternative lab assignment for this week. It's going to be kind of a written report. You'll still take some pictures of things, but most of those pictures you will curate from the Google webs. Go out to the internet, you'll do some internet research, but I'm sure you all have some preferred favorite cut of meat, a favorite steak, a favorite dish featuring a protein. So I want you to find, similar to the pictures I showed you earlier, we're calling it a butcher shop chart. I put some of those words in this slide like this, maybe to help you in a Google search. You can go to Google if you're not aware. You can go to Google and you can type in your search term, and when all of the results come up, at the very top of the screen you have some other options. One of you could narrow that search to just images or just videos, or to shop. You want to select images, so you're just seeing a whole bunch of pictures, and you can click on the picture, then right click on it again to save it to your hard drive, or you can copy it and put it directly in a Word document. But I want to see at least 3 pictures in your written report of your preferred protein. So let's say, for example, your preferred protein is a ribeye. You like ribeye steak, or you like prime rib. So I want you to find one of those pictures of the whole cow that shows all of the primal cuts, maybe some emphasis on the rib. Then another shot, again, you'll find this just from a Google search, the whole rib roast. And what I'm referring to here, that says primal section, showing retail cuts from that section, you'll get a shot of that whole section of the cow, and there'll be little lines, and from like that picture before of the tenderloin. This section is the Chateaubriand, and this section is the filet mignon, and this section is the tornadoes, and find something related to your preferred protein. And then you see there a picture included with a recipe. If you look a little further down, as you write and describe these other things, I also want you to find or write yourself, but find a recipe related to that protein. So in this whole report, what is your preferred protein? Why? What section of the animal does that come from? Identify at least 2 different cooking methods that you can use with that particular section of animal or that particular protein. So your ribeye, 2 different ways that you can cook ribeye. So you can grill a ribeye steak. You can also roast the rib roast for prime rib. Describe those cooking methods. That's going to be the bulk of your report, the written portion, and then include the recipe. All of that together in one report. You'll see in Blackboard in week 12 a lab assignment C. That is an alternative. So you will upload, like we always have the last several weeks. You'll include either, or you'll upload either Lab A and Lab B or Lab C. Lab A, a close-up of you breaking down something. That something, whatever it is that you broke down. Lab B is the shot of that product broken down and you in uniform. And if that won't work for you for this week, then I want you to do Lab C. And so what will happen in your grade book is if I see you've uploaded the assignment for Lab Assignment C, then I will exempt A and B. If you upload something for A and B, I'll exempt Lab C. Lab C will be worth 50 points, and then A and B combined are worth 50 points. I hope that's pretty clear as mud. Does anybody have any burning questions? My chat. Okay. Any questions about anything from anybody? Jeremy, I believe that answer is no. I don't think we have any key terms or quizzes left. I think week 11 was the last, because yes, the week 12 butchery. So if we were still at Cami, this week would be butchery, and then we would cook a whole meal using the chicken breast. We're actually gonna do something next week loosely related to this. But if we were back at Cami, this week would have been butchery of the chicken. We would have seared the chicken breast. I would have taught you that. We would have done a reduction, quick pan sauce. Well, that may be typo stuff. If you did it in week 11, if you did the key terms in week 11, if the printed paper said week 12, sometimes I don't catch everything when from one semester to the next, we move some things around. And, we pull from the previous semester. This week moves over to the previous week and back and forth and around. And sometimes little details like that get lost in translation. So if it's if it was in the week 11 folder, those key terms are for the week 11 grade and time, probably related to week 12. That was probably some of your chicken terms like keel and I can't remember all the terms off the top of my head. And so, yeah, there you go. That's that. Next week, we'll talk about next week. I'm going to ask you to cook something, but a complete dish, and we'll talk about what a complete dish is. A protein, a starch, a vegetable, and a sauce. And we'll break all that down next week, as well as whatever was going to be your oral report. Speaking of that, again, you should already have a topic, and gather some quotes and notes so that you can write a 2 to 3 page report, a paper about your whatever your topic was. if it's chocolate, if it's bacon, if it's Italian food, if it's um, Julia Child, if it's the evolution of food TV, whatever your topic is. Um, yeah, so Robin sent this privately, and it's a good question for everyone. He asked here for some extra time submitting lab work. Just some of us have maybe a little difficulty getting food product or whatnot. We don't want to make this complicated at all. And your lab assignments uh, don't have the due dates that your key terms and quizzes have had. So they will remain open all the way even through the week of the written exam. So if my math is right, that gives you from today on, I think you still have about 4 weeks or so to do three. You have 4 full weeks to get everything done that you need to get done. And the lab assignments for the last 3 or 4 weeks, it's kind of hard keeping up with time now. Those are all still open. So if you are behind or feel behind a little bit, or life is life, and some life is maybe upside down and things have gotten in the way, or whatever the case may be, you've got plenty of time. And email me or text me if you have some difficulty with product. Um, you don't want to go out. You don't feel it's safe, or you can't afford product. Whatever the case may be, if you're having some difficulty getting these lab assignments done, don't wait until the last week. Because if you wait until the last week, if you wait until finals week, and then you come to me and say, Chef, I wasn't able to ... and that stinks. Your grade's going to be where your grade falls, and perhaps I'll see you again in the fall. But if you have problems or you have issues, we have time now to work through almost anything. As long as you'll communicate with me, we can figure it out. So that's all I have to say about that.